And welcome back to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We've been on hiatus. We took a break. We've got some stories for you. We're glad to be back. Today's Pennsylvania-based show. Pennsylvania politics, Pennsylvania health, Pennsylvania football. We're going to dive into all of that. Before we do, Mark, I came in the door. I went from talking to you every day, probably didn't talk to you for almost a week. And I unloaded.
It was the worst week you've had in a long time.
I unloaded on you when I came through the door. It was like seeing your therapist for the first time in like a month.
Well, when you said we got stories to tell, I'm thinking you're at a wedding with a bunch of like high school, college buddies. Are you sure you can tell these stories?
I cannot. I probably cannot tell these stories if I'm being honest. It was a great weekend. We were actually in our coverage area. We were Port Matilda, just outside of State College.
Oh, right up there. Okay.
Yep. Really nice venue. It is. Wedding venues are unique because they really can make or break you. What was neat about this one was it was like a half indoor, half outdoor. So you're basically like covered, you're shaded for the heat, rain, it's all right. Like it's a really neat venue. It kind of had it covered for everything.
What's weird about, it's funny you mentioned that because last weekend I went to Troy twice for a varsity football game and then a JV football game the next day.
Right.
And which is in Bradford County. And it is from here an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's over, it's not an hour 10. Like it's
right.
And it always fascinates me on these trips, like how far you can go in an hour.
Yeah.
And see places I can't tell. I think I was at a basketball game at Troy.
Okay.
But like they have the football game is at the fairgrounds.
Yes.
At the fair this summer, Travis Tritt played there.
Yes.
So it's like to go an hour, it's just so weird that just depending on where you are, how many places are within an hour, but you haven't been there in ever.
Yeah.
And it is weird.
Being from Blossburg, going to school at Lock Haven and spending a ton of time at State College, and then knowing people and having people in the Bloomsburg, like Route 80 area. I mean, I've always said my favorite thing about living in Williamsport actually isn't Williamsport. It's that I'm within an hour of anywhere I'm trying to
You're
go.
at the center of the wheel now.
Kind of. And
Yep.
I've always said, whether it's my friends or my family or whatever it is, it's nice to kind of be within that. You know, they call you up like, we're doing this. And it's like, oh, yeah, like it's a day trip. Everything's a day trip from Williamsport, from where I'm trying to be. I'll tell you, too, with 15 now, you and I got into like a little bit of a debate about the trip to Harrisburg.
Mm-hmm.
But once they get that finished, I mean, a day trip to Harrisburg is going to be nothing. Nothing.
No, but when you think about how many people in our coverage area are thinking like, oh, my gosh, I haven't been to Harrisburg. And it's just not that far. You just get in the car and you're there.
Yeah.
And
this is coming from the guy, though, who does day trips to like Baltimore like it's candy. So.
Well, let me tell you, I don't know if I've told you this story. They have like the radar camera guns. Remember I was telling you how good a time I made to Baltimore?
Yeah.
Apparently my
Too
time
good a
was
time?
so good it cost me $40.
Did it?
Because I got this thing in the mail that said you were going too fast.
It only cost you $40.
It was a $40 ticket. I think I was going 62 and a 50 heading into.
But you never got pulled over.
Oh, no. It's just a picture of my car, the thing. And so here was my thought.
Wow.
Like,
I don't know if I love that.
I don't. Well, I don't.
Yeah.
So here's my thought. How do they prove, like, say I want to fight it because that's your first reaction.
Sure.
BS, I'm fighting. Well, how do they, it's a picture of my car. Clearly, I was there.
Right.
Where is the reading? I want to know how they can prove that how fast that I was going. But on the flip side of it, it's $40. So, like, for me, I'm going to have to drive to Maryland to go to court.
Yeah.
So is it low enough that they're like, well, just pay it? I don't know.
The real question to me, so it's so technically, what are they getting you for, though? Because
speeding.
But can they, though? Because in order for it to be speeding, it would have to go off of your license. And how would they prove that you're the driver of the car? That's what fascinates me about this. That's why, to me, pulling somebody over for the speeding ticket, what really matters is the driver of the car. Anybody can drive any car.
Well, it's stolen then, but
You get what I'm saying?
No. I do get what you're saying.
For all you, it could have been one of your daughters. It could have been your ex. It could have been like, who knows who? I could have been driving your car. You know what I'm saying? So I wonder how that works.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
It's interesting.
Well, I guess if you're the driver, if it's your car, then you know like who had it on that day, and you're like, hey, blockhead, you owe me $40.
But wouldn't the points go? See, there's a whole. I'm not
but out of
grasping
state.
this.
Out of
There's
state,
no points on
no
the license
points.
out of state. So do they only get vehicles that are out of state?
That's another question, maybe.
Wow.
Which is bad for tourism.
If anybody knows, please comment, because I'm now fascinated by this. That is bad for tourism.
And what's really funny is, this is the story that I don't know if I told you this on the air. My son decided we weren't going to go.
Okay.
Because it was the 30th anniversary celebration of Camden Yards. And when Camden Yards came into being, my brother was a rookie.
Yeah.
So we were there the first time they played there and where they all the ceremonies and all that stuff. So they were having a bunch of old timers back and then guys who'd been there through the 30 years.
Okay.
So I'd ask him during the week, do you want to go? And he said, no. And literally 4 hours and 3 minutes before first pitch, he texts me and says, is it too late?
Okay.
Now so first pitch is 5:05. It's 1:02. And he texts me. And I was like, well, yeah. My first response is yes. It's too late. And he said, okay. I texted him back at 1:10.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if we leave now, we'll make the game, but we're going to miss the ceremony.
Mm.
And he said, let's try. Well, then I made such good time that we made the ceremony, but I made such good time. I should give my son the $40 ticket because if he would have just decided on Thursday, then we would have been there in plenty of time.
Yeah. Make him sell one of his Fortnite skins.
But, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Interesting. But in all reality, I might have been, I just wonder, I might even been going flow of traffic.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that have to do with it. I bought a ticket once. Basically what had happened is it was turning into a construction zone, and I was on the outside lane, back-to-back trailers inside the right. So I basically had to make the decision, am I going to slow all the way down so I can get behind both of them, or am I going to try to speed up to avoid the problem and get in front of the first one? And I sped up to get in front of the first one, and I got pulled over, and I argued kind of with the cop politely. And my argument was like, listen, I had a choice and I made one.
What was I going to do?
It was like, I mean, you're pulling me over and you saw like I was basically, and so he let me go because I think I was going to go and fight it regardless.
Did you cry?
No.
Was it a male cop or female cop?
No, it was a male cop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a male cop. I told him, I said, listen, like, I appreciate what you're doing. Like, I have no issue with you trying to keep everyone
But I'll
safe.
see you in court.
No, safe. But I said, I'm telling you right now, I think I made the responsible decision was my argument.
See, now what was funny is when I lived in Maryland, everyone said to me, if you ever get a ticket, go to traffic court. Because, and this is now this is 30 years ago, and I don't know how they're like, if you show up, they will lessen your sentence.
Okay.
Whether they take the points away, whether they take,
Sure.
They will do something. They said there's also the other aspect. If the cop doesn't show, you're free, innocent, I guess.
Okay.
So there's that hope. They're like, if it's worth it to you. So I had to go once when I was there, and you just there's no like, how do you plead? Guilty.
Yeah.
How's your record? That's okay. And that's all the guy did. He looked
Sure.
at records, and he was like, it was my first ticket. Well, it was my first ticket in Maryland.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, well, you got a clean record. I don't want to mess up your record. So he didn't give me any points, and I just had to pay a fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's changed since then, but that's what they told me. You go, and maybe that has changed as well. But they said if the cop doesn't show, then you get off.
Yeah. I don't think that has changed. I know in New York State that's what it was. So I think I would imagine it's still the same. You got to
or I could just drive slower.
You got to see Dr. Oz.
I did.
Tell us about it.
Well, this is what's fat. He was at the Genetti last week.
Yep.
This is where my brain has been going, because all the politics. What's really crazy is I'm not that interested in politics because we think there's so much corruption and
Sure.
disingenuousness.
I like that word. That was good.
But I'm fascinated at how they kind of, everything is marketing, how they're marketing their people, whether it's for their guy or against the other guy or whatever. And so Dr. Oz came and spoke. I mean, he's a TV star. He's very glib. He's not, when the microphone is on, he is not nervous. He's not stuttering over himself. He's not, he is. And I say stuttering, that people are going to say that was a shot at Biden. That was just an innocent. But he's a very good speaker.
Sure.
He's smooth and he's. But the thing that surprised me was I didn't think it was overly publicized by his people. The place I saw it was the Genetti put it on their Instagram page.
Yeah.
And I'm a follower. The Genetti's a sponsor of our show, and I follow Genetti on Instagram. So then I was thinking, like, wow, and then Trump came to over at Mohegan Sun on Saturday. We sent a reporter over, and they wouldn't let him in. There were only certain reporters that were allowed. There was like a day's notice. It was So my first thought is, aren't these groups doing poorly because you want the media there, because you want the publicity, so you want to get as many people there as you can?
Sure.
Then my flip side was, maybe they only send it to their base because they don't want protesters. Right. They don't want people inside, because Dr. Oz fielded a couple questions, a couple being 3.
Right.
Maybe they don't want anyone, everyone in there is to love them, and it looks better. They can do videos, they can post it, whatever. Maybe even I went as far as maybe the questions were even planted. Maybe they wanted to make sure that it wasn't someone against him who's asking him a tough question. I don't know. But it's just, the one side of me says, shouldn't they publicize it more to try to get better? The other side of it says, if they only publicize it to the people who follow their site and their stuff, and then it limits their chances of getting outsiders. Yeah. And I'm sure both, I don't know. I'm sure there's aspects, pros and cons to both.
I think the 2 people that you mentioned is, I don't know if Oz and Trump need promotion. Like, Oz was on TV. People know who he is. Trump is Trump. I do wonder, it'd be more interesting to me if it was a candidate maybe that doesn't have like the umph for them.
I know what you mean.
So I'm sure there are Republican and Democratic candidates out there that are promoting to be seen, but I don't know. The question is it coincidental that those are the 2? Yeah.
Correct. And then my next question is, because it was a big political week locally, at least. I think Biden made 3 stops to Pennsylvania in 7 days.
Yep.
And my question with that, I know Biden's been doing better.
Yeah.
Because he's had some stuff go through, and obviously gas prices are coming down, but he's certainly on the best little stretch of his presidency.
Sure.
But still, I don't think anyone would argue that his presidency has not been a rousing success. And when he is out stumping for Democrats, is he helping, hurting, or doesn't he move the needle one way or the other?
I think it's very similar to what you said about playing to the base. Like, I don't know if Biden was necessarily here playing to people outside of that base. And I think there are certainly people here in Pennsylvania that are part of that base, and it's worthwhile showing up. I think it's a fair question. I just don't know if he's really talking to anybody differently the same way like Trump or Oz.
I know what you mean.
Like, I think the same people that support Biden that would show up to his are the same people that support Trump that would show up to his. Like, I don't see a very I think the crowds are very different, but I don't see like a centralist or somebody undecided going to one of these things.
So then the next question, and I agree with that. Yeah. So then the next question is, since it's so divided, it's Pennsylvania especially, and these races are so tight, is the strategy from inside each house, we need to make sure our base is there.
Yeah.
And then whatever trickle in we get from the undecideds, or are they actively trying to get the undecideds?
It's a good question. I think both. It's this weird place. Mar was actually talking about this the other night. It is a weird place right now where I do think both sides believe that their base is big enough to win.
Okay.
So it's this weird thing of like, I do think both sides are playing to the base. And I think they're making sure that their people are coming out to vote because, like, you say this a lot. Like, we have never publicly been more divided. I don't know. People are always like, we've never been more divided. I don't know. Like, when I go back and read stuff, like, we were pretty divided. I just don't know if it was as publicly known as it was before. So, yes, I agree. We've never been publicly more divided. But I don't know if we've ever been at a place where I think both sides feel like if our base shows up, we'll win it. And I really think both sides feel that way right now.
Do you think they think it? This is total speculation.
Sure.
Because it's simple and it's way simpler than saying, how do we get the undecided?
I think part of it is that public deviation. So like you just constantly hear from your side and thus like, wow, our base has never been stronger. Like, look at these people that are so with us. Like, they're not even considering the other side. Like, they're so with us that I think it does give this feeling of like our base is strong. And I think that's on both sides of it.
By the way, Bill Maher has been around for a long time. I wasn't a huge fan. I thought he was good, but not great. As the more I watch, and in this point in time, like, he is on his game because the world is such a mess.
Yeah.
And he calls it out. Now, he obviously he leans left. He generally has a right and a left guest every show.
Sure.
But he calls out everybody. And he is the right guy for this time.
This is his moment. I thought there was some I thought like 5-6 years ago, Colbert really mattered. Like, I remember telling people, I remember even telling Republicans, like, listen, like, he's from South Carolina, like, he's around Republicans. Like, this is kind of like a Democrat that's worth listening to. I don't know when it happened. I feel like Colbert has kind of like dug in a little bit. I feel like even John Oliver has dug in a little bit. Maher has not. Like, Maher is still like, no, like, these are my beliefs. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. Let's talk about what really needs to happen here, regardless of party affiliation. Whereas I do think some of the other people that filled some of that void around him, like the Colberts and Olivers, they've kind of dug in.
Like, I love when there's somebody, especially the person on the left on the panel, or at the desk, whatever it's called. They call it the panel, isn't it? Whatever. And they'll give the company line, and he'll just have like a 4-word response, which basically like, that's BS, and they're stymied.
Yeah,
but he calls it out, and I
think I was telling you this. He had 2 Democrats on 2 weeks ago.
Was one of them Meathead, the guy from Rob Reiner?
Yes,
I saw that episode.
Yes, and he kind of like was like, you guys are just talking in circles.
Yes,
like, you're just like, everything I throw you, you're just throwing out the Democratic line. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, we kind of need, whether you like him or not, we kind of need Bill Maher right now.
If you, I mean, even if you don't like him, because in general, again, he leans left, and if you hate every person that leans left, then you're not going to like it. But if you want someone who's going to call it out and tell people when they're crazy and tell people when they're lying, and he does it to every side.
Yes, but he's holding Democrats, like, to the fire.
Yes.
Like, he's kind of like, listen, like, I'm not saying I'm not with you, but, like, some of you are saying things that I just can't agree with. And like, I need to challenge you on it. Because if I don't know who in our party is.
Well, did you see the one, and you probably saw this episode, but this was a while ago. He said he's having people say, you've never criticized the Democratic Party this much. And he's like, they've never given me so much to criticize.
Sure.
And yeah, he is really, really entertaining.
I was talking,
and not just entertaining, he's really intelligent right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We need him right now. There's another guy. I was having a conversation. Do you know who would crush it right now? And I was talking at a wedding this weekend with someone about it. Jay Leno would crush it right now, because when you start going through like the talking heads, like when you like the Kimmels and the Colberts and the Fallons and all that stuff, like a Midwestern conservative late night guy would crush it because they're just not there.
There aren't any.
They're just it is. You turn on like late night TV right now, and if you are a conservative, it is like it's really hard to watch it over and over and over again because, like I said, like Colbert and some of these guys have really dug in. Like they have.
No, I get it.
So it is. I think like a Leno would just crush it.
Maybe.
Not that he didn't before. I mean,
right. No, I know what you
mean.
mean. But the timing would be set up for someone like
right
him.
now, I mean,
because it's very left heavy on.
Yeah.
Or just.
And I still enjoy like the interviews and things like that of late night TV, but like the opening monologues and stuff like that, they are so one-sided right now. And it doesn't mean I disagree with all of them. Like sometimes Kimmel will give a monologue and I'll be like, yeah, like good point or so. But it's like, it's so one-sided now that like, it would just be nice to have a late night guy who came out and gave a monologue that was 50-50 or leaned right.
Well, I was going to say,
it's not there.
You can make fun of the right and make fun of the left without trying very hard.
Yes.
There's a lot of meat on those bones.
So we were talking about how Leno would be like, if he tried to make a comeback right now, I bet you he would crush.
Did you see, we will get to our topics here.
Sure.
Did you
this
see?
Is our topic. We did.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Did you see some of the states are going to tax the college?
What did you have a gut? Did you have a thought on it?
I think everyone will. Okay, not every state. They won't be the only ones. I'll put it that way.
Do you think everyone should? When you win the
I
lottery,
don't know.
When you win the lottery, you get taxed.
Here's what I would like to know, and because I think it was on Bill Maher when they were talking about it, and so one of the female on the panel, Rob Reiner was the guy, I don't remember who the girl was, said that most of it was going to the right people. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Maher pushed back on that.
Yes.
He did not agree.
Yes. So that is, again, with all these programs that have come out, like did Biden just giving money away mess up the economy? Yes. Some of the people really needed it. But he gave a lot of money to people who didn't need it.
Totally.
And so there are some people that either help them finish college or whatever the case may be, that there are really good feel-good stories and society's a better place. Is that 10%? Is that 60%? Because if it's 10%, then they can tax the other 90%.
What I couldn't get over, especially like seeing online and even talking to some people, the backlash against essentially if you didn't think it was a good choice for him to forgive some of the debt, the backlash of, well, aren't you such a great person that anytime something good happens to somebody else, you're miserable? I couldn't get over that aspect of it. Like, because I thought it was financially not a great move, because I thought it really wasn't fair societally. Like, because I had a varying opinion on it, I was just a miserable person because somebody else got 10 grand and I didn't. That backlash blew my mind. I did not expect that. It was crazy how many people used that defense.
Yeah, I didn't expect it either, but it's not
like, oh, you just can't be happy for someone else, can you?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I just don't think it's a great choice.
Well, it's
like, I don't think it's a great decision.
Yeah, it's more than that because everyone else. This may be a bad example, but it's like when the gas money showed up, and people like, oh, the people that own land just got money for not just because they inherited it or whatever.
Sure.
And you're like, oh, some people got lucky and some people didn't. But it's not like people made conscious choices. With the college stuff, there are people that already paid theirs off. There are people that decided not to take out loans because they didn't want to take the debt and tried to save other ways. There are people that didn't even go to college because they're like, I don't want to get into debt or I could have. And so there are a lot of people that are like, well, I made financial decisions thinking that this stuff mattered. And now you just wipe it away like it's monopoly money. And so that's why there are people that were so angry.
There was the 2 points that you just said. One of them was you talked about like buying land and people getting gas leases. They got taxed on that. When you win the lottery, you get taxed on that. I'm not against this because people are kind of like, oh, it's just their way of.
Oh no, I'm not against
a good
it.
Thing.
I don't think much of America is going to be against it.
I'm not against it either. The other one too, I have yet to, and I've been trying to find somebody who wrote about it, and I can't. I've yet to hear somebody give a legitimate reason as to why Biden and them couldn't have done an all debt relief. Like essentially saying that like any debt up to X amount can be relieved starting blank.
You mean like credit card debt?
Why? Like I've yet to hear somebody give an actual reason as to why it had to be college debt.
Well, because they don't want to, because then people would be even more mad. They're like somebody just ran up their credit card.
No, I get
and
it.
bought all this stuff, and then
But that was a choice, right? Like someone
because
made
college,
a choice,
at least
and
it makes you seem like they're going for something good. Like I could go out and buy a Corvette today, and put it on my credit card,
I
and
hear
then
you. But see, it's the same. It's like it was like the stimulus, and it's like, well, listen, does that person really need $1,600?
right. No, I get it.
Well, no, but like the concept here is like we're trying to keep it balanced, and so like I've yet to hear someone give an actual reason as to why there couldn't have just been an all debt relief.
What's next is going to happen is they're going to give these big college breaks for trade schools. You're going to have like free trade school. If you enroll now, you can go and get your associate's degree, your apprentice degree, whatever it is, in HVAC and plumbing and general carpentry and whatever.
Well,
you're going to get all this for free.
I had a conversation with someone who's working through school right now. Like they're on their third degree and they're trying to like better themselves. And one of the arguments I said to them was like, I think if you're somebody who has made a financial decision that is positive for society, I think I'm more on your side. So for example, if you're trying to be an engineer, if you're trying to be a doctor, if you're trying to do these things where like 2 to 3 degrees is what it takes. So
Influencer?
No.
Not if you're trying to be an influencer?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But if you're one of those people that's 2 or 3 degrees in, and at some point the goal is like you are going to save somebody's life or you're going to build something in society that helps us, then like I think I'm kind of for you because 2 or 3 degrees is insane and it's expensive but there are these people who like went out and tried to get these $60, $80, $100,000 degrees, and it's like in philosophy, and it's like I don't think I'm with you. Like I don't think we're on the same page.
Didn't
here.
Bill Maher say?
So
like how many more sports marketing degrees?
Oh yes, he did. So again, like to your point, I think I'm not totally against like debt relief. I just thought that like they picked a broad enough thing that it felt like the majority of people just kind of fell into it. Like they made a choice and it wasn't a great choice and they fell into it. But then it kept enough of the border people out. So I'm with you on the trade school stuff. I'm not against like free trade school.
Like
if you're
that's my prediction. I don't know anything, but I'm predicting free trade school is coming.
If you're a state that can afford to figure out a way for free trade school so people can actually get into the workforce and like help society and like then I don't think I have a problem with that. It's these more like private institutions where you're taking like Latin language of history and you're getting like a 4-year degree for $80,000 and then you're upset when you walk out and you're like cutting cheese at a deli you know what I'm saying? Like what are you doing?
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Like I don't know. Like, to me that was a poor decision. It'd be like if I bought a truck and it was old and it broke down. I made a poor decision.
I know
exactly.
I know exactly what you're saying. By the way, before we get off and I said sports marketing, I thought I just read an article the other day on it was on my phone, so I don't know where it came from. Doesn't the world owe Phil Mickelson an apology right now
for the
because all the stuff that he said about the PGA, and now they're doing it, and they're like he's kind of, he said you guys are hoarding all this money, now you're giving more money. He said that the better players should play more often, now they're playing more often. Like all these things that he complained about, and you called him essentially the Antichrist.
Yes,
and now a year later you're doing it all. So it made me chuckle when I read it.
Can I take a win on that one? Can I take a W on that one?
Yeah, I mean it's
because I didn't understand why people were so upset at LIV and not upset at the PGA. The PGA slacked off. They had no challengers. They thought they could get away with what they were doing.
Yes. Well, they did get away with what they because the fans just like it the way it is. They don't care. That's what. They don't care.
The sanctity of golf, apparently, a sport where there's mulligans and like it.
Okay, there's not mulligans in the real one.
No, but when people go and play, like here's my favorite part: people who go play golf, and they're like mulligan, or they drop a second ball, or they kick. There's like the glove rule. There's all these different things, right? Gimmies and all this stuff. And then they're upset about the sanctity of the sport when Live Golf comes. And every weekend they go out, they make up like their own rules to make them score.
Well, how about this?
Like, it just
How about this?
Get out of here.
The ball's not moving. Okay,
Okay.
It's sitting still. Yet everyone has to be like funeral quiet.
Oh, that's my yes.
Like
that's
there's no cheering. There's no like in basketball, guys. The foul line. I know the rim's not moving,
yes.
but you've got however many thousands of people yelling whatever they want. In baseball, not only is the ball moving like 90 plus miles an hour, but the fans there's flash cubes going off like it's crazy. But in golf, you have to be totally quiet.
The hoity-toityness of golf and tennis needs to just go away. I hate the hoity-toityness of it all.
I agree.
Really bothers me. PA depressed cities. We won't spend too much time on this, but I found it fascinating.
You know why?
Because it's depressing. Pennsylvania cities among America's most depressed, data shows. So they basically came out. Depression can affect anyone, though new data shows some areas of the United States have more incidences of the anxiety disorder. So they went through, ranked them all, and they have the percentage of depressed residents based off of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and then also based off of local hospital data.
Oh, this is not financial. This is real. This is mental health depression.
Real depression.
Oh, okay. I was on the wrong. I was thinking of industry.
No. So the way we fell into this is that there were 3 U.S. cities that fell in the top 100.
3 Pennsylvania cities.
3 Pennsylvania cities that fell in top 100, which doesn't seem like a lot, but there's 50 states across the country, like all that stuff. So to have 3 in the top 100, you're above the average, I guess is what I'm saying. Not like sounding the alarm bell, but
so this is like percentage of population, not gross
this is the
population,
percentage of population that is depressed of residents.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you like to guess where the number 1 city is?
In Pennsylvania? Oh, in the country?
In the country.
My immediate guess is Las Vegas.
It is not Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
So the number 31% of its residents are I don't want to say D.
New
What's
Orleans?
the word I'm looking for? No, Billings, Montana.
Oh, because the winters.
Because of the winters and probably just the loneliness and probably just like the distance and all of those things.
Okay.
Yes.
I know someone from Billings.
There you go. So they believe 31% of the residents. Now again, I'm sure the data is perfect.
Like Anchorage has to be there.
Anchorage is in the top 10. Alaska's in here 3 times. Just to read it off to you, Tennessee's actually the next 2. So Kingsport, Bristol is number 2, and then Knoxville, Tennessee is number 3.
Knoxville.
Yes.
That's where UT is.
So how much do you think whiskey plays into that? Do you think that says more about whiskey, or do you think that says more about the location?
I mean, why would Knoxville be worse than Nashville? Other than everyone in Nashville has a dream, but are their dreams getting crushed? I've heard Nashville's great. Have you ever been to Nashville?
I'm hoping to go very, very soon.
I want to go to Nashville.
Charleston, West Virginia was 4. Huntington, Ashland, West Virginia was 5. So Tennessee and West Virginia.
Right there in Appalachia.
And 2, 3, 4, 5.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. The other sneaky one as well, I specifically wrote it down, the Northwest, because of all the rain. Spokane Valley, Washington was number 6. Salem, Oregon was number 8. And there was one other one in the top 20. Seattle, Washington also made the top 20.
Well, and it's because grunge is dead.
Grunge is dead. So, it rains every day.
So grunge is dead and it rains. But the Mariners are hot.
The Mariners are very hot. Pennsylvania, did you want to guess?
Is Shamokin a city?
Shamokin would not count as a city. It's too small.
Oh, so it's just not how it's... Okay, I was going to say something like Erie.
So Erie made the top 100 list.
Okay. Because I imagine... Oh, you've been in Erie. I imagine winters are not pleasant.
I will keep this to 10 seconds. I was never depressed in my life until I spent a winter in Erie. I never understood how the weather could affect people until I lived in Erie. So that's my 10-second story.
Altoona.
Altoona is not on the list.
See, that was back when I was trying to think of places that lost jobs. It can't be Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's kind of
It is not. At first, I thought maybe it was Pittsburgh just because of like
I would think
steel
Philly
industry.
would be worse.
Philadelphia is number 33 in the country.
Philly would be worse than Harrisburg, possibly?
No, Scranton.
Oh.
They had Scranton.
Ain't no party like a Scranton party.
Scranton and Erie barely made the list. Philadelphia, however, was tied for number 33 with East Lansing, Michigan.
See, what's funny is when you talked about this earlier, I was like, yeah, let's talk. I thought you meant financially depressed.
No,
I didn't know it was mental health.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Now, again, like the numbers on this stuff always not worry me,
Right.
but
they're far from perfect.
Because this was the other thing I was looking into too before we decided to talk about this. Not every hospital has the same protocol for booking or basically taking someone in for depression. So like
they don't get booked for depression. They get booked downtown.
Yeah. So like hospitalization numbers, stuff like that is always different in different places.
You know, like one of the happiest places in America?
What's that?
Blossburg.
It is, without a doubt.
I've heard that.
Have you ever drove by Blossburg on Route 15 and just like looked down into the valley? It's like Whoville.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't really know. The only time I know where Blossburg is when I see a sign. But like if I'm driving up, I couldn't look over and say that's Blossburg.
All the Grinches drive by on 15 looking over, and then the sun's just sitting on Blossburg, and just everyone's just holding hands and singing.
You know, I believe it. That's why I said it's one of the happiest places on earth. There's like Hershey and Blossburg. Oh no, Hershey's the sweetest place on earth.
The sweetest place on earth.
Sorry, I screwed up my
Blossburg is the happy. I'm gonna make T-shirts that say Blossburg.
The happiest place on earth.
Unfortunately, the happiest place on earth is not Blossburg this past weekend. It might have been Happy Valley, Penn State.
I'm not sure if I would say happy or relieved.
Well, so so here's the question. I put this in the description. I thought it was a good win. When you talk to Penn State fans, they do not think it was a good win, and that it baffles me a little bit.
Well, yes.
So here, let me ask you these questions to start. Do you think Purdue is good? Yes or no?
They don't suck. So they have NFL receivers.
So you think Purdue is good? Do you think it's hard to win on the road in the Big Ten?
Any road win is a good win.
Okay. Do you think the first game is always nerve-wracking because when you're a coach, you can have a veteran chiseled team, but until the first game of that year, you just don't know. Agree, yes or no?
There are in those kind of sports, and baseball's a little different because it's about pitcher, but football, basketball.
Yes. So your answer is yes.
It is a cluster.
Okay.
The first game is a cluster.
So it's a yes. And the last thing I will say to you is, how many quarterbacks in the country this year will have a game-winning drive under 2 minutes? 25? So they won on the road in the Big Ten. They beat what you and I agree is a good Purdue team.
They don't suck.
Yep. They won their week 1 game with a lot of questions, and their quarterback had a game-winning drive under 2 minutes. So all I'm saying is to all these Penn State fans that are like, no. That's ridiculous. You should be pleased. I'm not saying you got to scream from the mountaintop.
Right.
But the idea that Penn State fans aren't pleased it makes no sense.
Well, it is. And because I went to Wild Wings because I wanted to watch both the Pitt and Penn State were on at the same time. And it was a big night for Pennsylvania college football.
Yeah.
And there were moments in the fourth quarter where both teams looked like they'd lost and somehow they both won.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, all you can do is win. And there's no style points. And when when they're at Alabama, when they're in Alabama playing Auburn, no one's going to care that they did this, they turned the ball over. Yeah, this wasn't great. I know they're worried about Clifford's mobility now because that's a big part of his game. And if he can't run, and I get all that. But yeah, all you can do is win. You can't do any better than win. And sure, they would have loved him to win 45-10. But at the end of when you wake up, you're either 1-0 or you're 0-1. And 1-0 looks a lot better for both of them. Pitt this week is Penn State plays Ohio, so they're going to crush. Pitt is a 6.5-point home underdog to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Pitt is still ranked, and Tennessee beat Ball State. Yeah. So it's a crazy time. But yeah, I mean,
can we talk about Sean Clifford for a second?
Go ahead.
He's 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good thing I have heard the argument, though, that if you're a 24-year-old quarterback in the NCAA still, it means you're probably not really good. It means you could be good, but you're probably not really good, because if you were really good, you'd already be gone.
The commentator made that great point. I never thought of it. He said if you're around this long, you have a strange relationship with the fan base, because being around this long means you aren't good enough to go anywhere else.
Okay.
And that there is something to that.
Okay.
And now they've got this freshman who played a little, and apparently he could be good. Every time Clifford stumbles, the fan base is ready to pounce.
You and I are running a college program. And I said to you from scratch, we can have an 18-year-old quarterback or a 24-year-old quarterback.
I'll take the 24-year-old.
I'm taking the 24-year-old every time.
Every time.
And here's the crazy part about this was, I don't know how many quarterbacks could have made the mistakes that he made in the fourth quarter and still would have been able to walk out there and do what he did in the final 2 minutes. So I understand that's a conundrum, because he put himself into the hole.
Correct.
He had the interception. He had the bad drive before the winning drive. So I understand he put his own self into the hole. But, like, isn't that kind of the advantage of having a 24-year-old quarterback, is that they can have multiple bad drives, and then when there's 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, it's like, here we go. I've gone through worse. Like, let's go.
And you have to, as long as you're good, you have to ride with him.
Yes.
You have to. If you're week, 9 and they're 4-4, and you want to start, then I get it. But he certainly gives you the best chance because of all those things. Yeah. He'll be calm. Yeah. You would expect anything above and beyond, he'll be calm.
The 18-year-old who would have thrown an interception and then gone 3 and out the 2 drives before the game-winning one, I don't think they're having the game-winning drive.
Probably not.
Just my opinion. So I don't know. I'm on the flip side with Penn State fans right now. I'm not saying that, like, you're going to the playoffs. I'm not, like, I get that this is not the caliber of, if I'm a diehard Penn State fan, this is not the caliber of team that I want, and I understand that. But the negativity after beating Purdue on the road in week 1 on a game-winning drive is absurd to me.
Well, yes, there's a level of Clifford's not great.
No.
But he's good.
Yes.
And, like,
there's a lot of NCAA football teams that don't have a good quarterback.
There's a lot of life that's not great, but you'll take good.
Yes.
And I just don't imagine the fun. Anyone who thinks that they're like, well, if we're not going to be great, I don't care if we're 8-3 or 3-8. Sure you do. Sure. 8-3 is a hell of a lot more fun than 3-8.
Right.
And it gives you that hope. And it gives you that they get through this game and then they go to Alabama. I keep saying Alabama because it's Auburn. When they go down to play at Auburn, it's like everyone's going to watch and there's going to be belief, and they're going to go into it saying, if we can just get through this one.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, if you come out of Auburn with a win, I don't care what the score is. I don't care what it looked like. Exactly. I don't care anything. It is a win.
I really liked Singleton, the running back. You don't love him?
I just don't understand why they can't have a better line. Like,
no, I get it.
How does Wisconsin, with all these, they got all these farm kids. There's a lot of farm kids in Pennsylvania. How do they not get an ass-kicking line year after year after year?
Non-football, naive opinion here. I remember when Franklin first came in, everything was around speed. It was about speed. And when he was at Vanderbilt, a lot of people forget this. When he was at Vanderbilt, the reason they were able to be a little successful in the SEC is he did not go after, like, top flight offensive and defensive linemen. He found undersized ones that were quick and were fast. And so I do wonder if he's in a position where, like, even though at Penn State he might be able to get some of those top tier linemen, he is bypassing them for, like, the quicker, like, line. And I don't know. I mean, that's my naive opinion based off of what he did at Vanderbilt and how he was able to be successful there.
It's if you can win the battle in the trenches, it makes playing offense so much easier.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you would just think, because I know Ohio State is what Ohio State is, but it's still, if you're an ass-kicking football player in the Northeast, anywhere up through New England or whatever, Penn State's the biggest program all the way up.
Totally.
Like, if Syracuse and Penn State are recruiting, you're going to Penn State. Yeah. And then you get down below, you get, into the Marylands, into the Virginias, down to Virginia Tech. Like, you're going all the way to Georgia. before you get there's Ohio State,
like Clemson, South
Oh,
Carolina. But I
Clemson,
get your
Clemson.
point.
I forgot
Your
Clemson.
point is made, though.
So Pennsylvania,
I get
you
it.
would think they would be able to have the pick of the litter.
I get it. Now they do have. I'm going to biff this in 2023. They have the number one tackle or guard because he's from Virginia.
Okay.
And he is committed.
Okay.
And then I think they also have a 4-star one from Virginia as well, who's like the number 3 or number 4 tackle or guard. So like in 2023, like it is coming.
Hopefully.
It is coming, but like it is not here yet.
And just with the transfer portal and stuff like you would just think.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that'll be interesting too, is how they handle the transfer portal because they kind of avoided it for the most part yet. Like you haven't heard like, oh, Penn State lost so and so. That will be interesting. Like especially like Singleton was the number 1 running back in the country. Like, does he look around after a year and is like, like I can pretty much go anywhere I want.
Right.
So that it'll be interesting as he brings in these the number 1 tackle, the number 1 running back. Like, do these dudes stick around, or does the portal then become a thing?
Seeing the other thing, and I agree with you 100% on week 1. Like, you just got guys out of position. You got guys out in every sport. Like baseball's different because baseball's just simpler. But like the other aspect is you're just not going to play well every week. Yeah. And if you can win the days you play, then that's a good thing. That's what good teams do.
Yes.
So you've also got that blend. Maybe it was just first week, or maybe it was just bad. Because I know the one interception he threw was really bad. He just threw it over the guy's head, which is just bad throw, and it happens. But I don't know. I'm with you because I just for Pennsylvania college football, and Notre Dame made a really good showing. They didn't win, but Notre Dame made a good showing. Their coach seems like a likable guy that you can root for after all those years of Brian Kelly, who lost in the most Hollywoodish way down at LSU. So I'm excited for it. I'm glad they both won. I think it makes it makes Saturdays in Pennsylvania interesting as long as these two can hold it together. And Pitt, Tennessee this week might be the game of the weekend because they loaded up week 1 with a lot of good games. Week 2 is a little bit less.
Sure.
But
I'm with you. Anything else before we go? We'll be back tomorrow.
Did we have anything?
No.
Penn State. Braun Strowman back in the WWE. Did I mention that?
No, you did not.
I will say this. I don't know if anyone. Oh no, I do have this to say. Maybe I didn't tell you this. When was the last time we were on? Well, over the weekend, the Yankees played in Tampa. Aaron Judge scored every run the Yankees scored this weekend.
Okay,
that's bad.
Yes,
that's bad. He at the end of August, Aaron Judge had a 15 home run lead on every other hitter in Major League Baseball, National League and American League. The only other player to ever do that is Babe Ruth.
It's pretty impressive.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah. Now that's a good one.
So there you go.
But that's not even a record. But
you don't like my baseball stats, but that's
that was a good that one. Listen, when you have a good one, I tell you that was a good one.
But you only like that because the Sandlot. That's why you know who Babe Ruth is.
I told you the Ohtani record, and like that was a good. Like the Ohtani one is good.
No, I'm with you.
Like good measurable ones like that. That's good. Really puts into context what's happening.
And that way, it kind of tells how good of a hitter you are when there's only 2 and it's you and Babe Ruth. That's not bad.
No, it's pretty good.
Not bad.
Pretty good. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news. And we are back. We will be back tomorrow again for another show.
Back in the New York groove. Do you know who sings that? No, you don't. Ace Frehley.
I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Lucina. We'll see you.